up just to get some charges. You a I hope you die tomorrow. Shit wrong with this man. You ain't even ask me what the happened. Did you ask me what happened? Nothing you did. When I told you hit me, you ain't said all right.
Messy. That was January 3rd. Bengals cornerback Adam Pac-Man Jones arrested and still faces misdemeanor charges for assault, obstructing official business, and disorderly conduct since the incident. Jones went into alcohol and anger management treatment, and because of that, prosecutors dropped a felony charge for harassment with a bodily substance for spitting on the hand of a nurse at the Cincinnati jail. But on the first day of voluntary off-season workouts, Jones wasn't exactly pleased when a reporter asked him about the incident. Take a listen to this.
Is there anything you have to show to the fans, you have to prove to the fans for them to welcome you back this year? There was a lot of people upset with the way things went down in the offseason.
Didn't I just tell you don't ask me that?
Yeah, but, you know.
You out the conclusion. Turn around. Go back. Go back that way. Bye. See you. Next question.
Pac-Man not happy there, but just the latest in his long history of incidents. Max, should the Bengals part ways with him?
Yes, I think they should. And look, I know it was Burfict and not him who was really responsible for losing to the Steelers in the playoffs when they needed 14 yards and handed him 15. That really wasn't Pac-Man Jones's fault. And he's getting anger management and he's struggling, you know, in his own life and he's working on it. I get all that. And you can't draw a direct correlation between his behavior in the police car or even yesterday to you know, the Bengals losing or having disappointing seasons. But what do we always point to, Stephen A., and you point to this a lot with Coach, with Marvin Lewis. There needs to be some kind of a culture change in Cincinnati. And while, again, I wouldn't single out Pac-Man Jones and be able to make an exact, you know, correlation between his behavior and losing, there needs an overall cultural shift on that team. You know, if he was Deion Sanders or if he was Darrelle Revis or someone like that, then you make a lot of allowances. And in fact, he's good enough that you do make certain allowances. It's not like he'll be out of a job in the NFL. He's a very good player. But on this Bengals team, I think it's time to turn the page. I generally like nonconformists. You know, the 1970s Yankees, the Bronx Zoo. I like that sort of thing. I like those kind of athletes. In this case, on this team, I think it's time to cut him. I think it's time to say goodbye.
No, I don't believe that that's the case because I think that we're overblowing this just a touch. Listen, I don't like the way that I saw him acting in that police vehicle because he looked out of control, no doubt about it. You know, the anger management courses that he has to take and what have you, he brought that on himself. I'm not about to sit here and be an apologist for him in that regard. But at the same time, I think that when folks come out of their mouths and say the kind of things that you and others have just said in terms of moving on from him, I think ultimately folks are piggybacking off of his past transgressions. Prior to the Vontaze Burfict incident, the man hadn't been in trouble for years. He went out on the field, he performed, Marvin Lewis saved his career, etc. I know he doesn't feel the way about Marvin Lewis that I feel about Marvin Lewis. I think Marvin Lewis should have been fired years ago. But I have nothing against Marvin Lewis personally. I just think that when you're at a job for 14 straight years as a head coach in the National Football League and you fail to win one single playoff game, it is time for you to go. You can be a head coach elsewhere, but not in that damn city. But that being said, no one needs to go before Marvin Lewis. If Marvin Lewis goes, then you can talk about Adam Pac-Man Jones going. But Marvin Lewis being there, I don't find a problem with Pac-Man Jones. Do I like the behavior? Fine. You pointing in the face of a reporter and telling him to go someplace, you don't need to be doing that, particularly considering that the DA let you off to some degree because they were taking into account, you know, the fact that you were going to behave yourself and not display moments of anger and beyond. What it read like was entirely different than what I saw on camera. What I saw on camera,
it read more intimidating than the video actually shows.
It read more intimidating than the video actually showed. When I saw it, you pointed to the guy, get on out of here, and that's it. You weren't
That was
violent.
round one, Stephen A. There was round two, apparently, after the fact, where he continued to berate the reporter.
I don't know anything about that. In fairness, I don't know anything about that. I'm only going by what we saw.
George Orwell famously said about journalism, journalism is printing what someone doesn't want you to print. Everything else is PR. And what bothers me about Pac-Man Jones's response there is that it was an entitled, angry response because the guy's not giving him what he feels is PR. The journalist is doing his job. And it's not exactly fair on a one-to-one basis. As I said, I can't correlate precisely Pac-Man Jones's attitude, because I agree with you, he's been unfairly criticized in recent years, I believe, for the most part. But if you're constantly on Marvin Lewis and the culture of the Bengals, and bad behavior or questionable behavior on or off the field keeps coming up with Pac-Man Jones, and he's a very good player, but he ain't Deion Sanders, as I said, maybe that's a very good place to start and a good, strong message to send if you're really looking for a culture change.
Yeah, but ultimately it leans towards unfairness because we're piggybacking off a history that, for the most part, he's cleaned up. Now, I concede. I don't like that that incident in the police vehicle. That speaks for itself. But something like this, I don't like him being that way towards a reporter, but it's hardly a fireable or a dismissive or dismissible offense. I don't view it to that level. And I'm just saying that we also have to take into account what this man deals with, because we do have folks in the media that use an incident as an excuse to piggyback off of that and rehash every transgression that somebody has gone through. As somebody who has talked to Pac-Man Jones on several occasions throughout the years, do I know him? No, I do not. I mean, we've talked from time to time. He's cool. He's very outspoken. I find him to be very honest. He don't give a damn. He's going to let you know where he stands. He's a rough rider. And I do not condone under any circumstances how he finds himself in some of these incidences. But the Pac-Man Jones that I know, that I've spoken to on many occasions, I see a guy that's highly frustrated because he worked diligently to clean up a past, and then the slightest thing that goes wrong, people are ready to pounce on him and use it as an excuse to rehash everything else.
That's why
that's the problem.
That's why I'm not suggesting the guy shouldn't be in the NFL. There will be plenty of takers, whatever the perception of his attitude, justified or not, is from people like me or others. There will be plenty of, and I've been a defender of his in the not-so-distant past, there'll be plenty of takers for his services because he's a good football player. We're talking specifically the Bengals. For the Bengals, I think
why are you not talking about Marvin Lewis first?
Okay, well, we could talk about Marvin Lewis, but that's not the topic. It's Pac-Man Jones.
Well, I'm just saying, but you're saying Pac-Man Jones needs to go because maybe that'll lend itself towards cleaning up the culture. And I'm saying the best way to clean up the culture is Marvin Lewis being gone.
Okay, well, you can start and end every conversation about the team by getting rid of Marvin Lewis. I won't oppose you too vociferously,
okay.
But here we're talking Pac-Man Jones, and I think that's a strong message to send. He's out of there. He'll get plenty of work. He'll make plenty of money in the NFL. But if I were the Bengals, it wouldn't be on my team.
Got to leave it on that note, gentlemen. When we come back, former Ravens running back Ray Rice is back with the NFL. But for what reason? Find out coming up in just a bit.